The message arrived on Eric Daniels' desk at exactly 3:17 Earth Standard Time. An invitation to observe the quarterly Galactic Council meeting, an unprecedented honor for humanity's still new diplomatic corps. Eric read the invitation twice, then a third time. His gray eyes narrowed with suspicion. 12 years, he muttered to himself. 12 years since first contact, and suddenly they want us at their most exclusive gathering. Outside his office window, the gleaming spires of New Washington rose into the morning light. Humanity had recovered quickly after the shock of learning they weren't alone in the universe. Perhaps too quickly, according to some of their alien counterparts. Eric tapped the communication panel on his desk. "Samantha, can you come in, please?" Moments later, Samantha Wright entered his office. At 32, she was nearly 2 decades younger than Eric, but her intelligence and diplomatic instincts had earned her rapid promotion. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and she carried a data tablet under one arm. "You called, Ambassador?" she asked. Eric gestured to the chair across from him. "We've received an invitation to the Galactic Council's quarterly meeting. What do you make of that?" Samantha's eyebrows rose slightly, her version of extreme surprise. "That's unusual. The Council typically only allows observational status after at least 40 cycles of established diplomatic relations." "Exactly," Eric said. "We've barely been on the galactic stage for 12 years, and now this." He pushed the digital invitation across his desk. Samantha studied it carefully. The phrasing matches official Council protocol. Authentication codes appear legitimate. It's signed by Arbiter Gentall himself. "I'm not questioning if it's real," Eric said. "I'm questioning why now." Samantha thought for a moment. "The Hadrian colony dispute was resolved in our favor last month. Some council members weren't pleased with that outcome." Eric nodded. Humanity's newest colony had been established on a planet that the Friclorian Empire had claimed but never settled. The neutral arbitration had sided with Earth, citing the active development clause of the Galactic Charter. "Could be they want to keep a closer eye on us," Eric said. "Or they're planning something we should know about." "Either way," Samantha replied, "we should accept." 3 days later, their diplomatic vessel approached the massive structure known as Council Station. The artificial construct orbited a star with no habitable planets, neutral territory by any definition. From a distance, it resembled a silver snowflake, each crystalline arm housing representatives from different galactic regions. Eric stood at the observation window, watching the station grow larger. "Have we received docking instructions yet?" Samantha checked the communications panel. "Yes, but they're directing us to docking Arm 7. "That's unusual. Diplomatic vessels typically dock at Arm 3. "More unusual circumstances," Eric murmured. "When we arrive, I want you to keep your eyes and ears open. Your memory might be our best asset." Samantha nodded. Her photographic memory was why Eric had chosen her for this mission. She could recall every detail of alien diplomatic protocols, every word of treaty clauses, and every face she'd ever met. Their ship slowed as it approached the designated docking arm. Through the viewport, Eric noticed something odd. Military vessels from at least 4 different species were docked nearby. Not typical for a routine council meeting. As they locked into the docking clamp, Eric straightened his formal uniform. "Remember, we're here as observers only. We listen, we learn, we say nothing without clearing it with each other first." Samantha nodded, her face composed but alert. The airlock cycled open, revealing a tall, blue-skinned Xeraxian in ceremonial dress. The alien's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of surprise in their species. "Ambassador Daniels," the Xeraxian said, mandible clicks punctuating each word. "We did not expect your arrival quite so soon." Eric smiled pleasantly. "We're eager to observe galactic democracy in action." The Xeraxian's 4 arms performed a complicated gesture. "Of course. Please follow me to the waiting chambers. There have been some delays in today's proceedings." Eric and Samantha exchanged a quick glance as they stepped onto Council Station. Neither said what they were both thinking. They weren't supposed to be here at all. The waiting room was elegant but clearly designed for beings larger than humans. Eric sat uncomfortably on the edge of a bench that would have comfortably seated 3 people his size. Samantha paced the room, examining the strange artwork on the walls. 3 hours, Eric said, checking his translator watch. So much for their famous punctuality. Samantha stopped at a wall displaying what appeared to be a star chart. Something's not right. Did you notice how few staff members we've seen? Council Station houses thousands, yet we've seen, 10 individuals since docking. Eric stood and stretched, and our guide was certainly surprised to see us. Samantha nodded. I'm going to find the refreshment station. Want anything? Eric understood her real intention. Just water. Don't go far. Samantha slipped out of the waiting room. The corridor outside was eerily quiet. Most Council Station areas bustled with activity. Diplomats, staff, merchants, and visitors from hundreds of worlds. She walked purposefully, as if she knew exactly where she was going. After turning 2 corners, she spotted a small green-skinned Phloxian adjusting a wall panel. The maintenance worker jumped slightly when he noticed her. Greetings, Samantha said with a friendly smile. The human delegation is looking for refreshments. Could you direct me? The Phloxian's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of nervousness. Visitors should remain in designated areas during special sessions. Special sessions. Samantha kept her tone casual. I thought this was the quarterly open council meeting. Oh. The Phloxian's middle eye widened. You weren't told. The open session was postponed. This is a closed emergency session. Very rare. First one in 212 years. Samantha maintained her smile despite her racing heart. I see. Our invitation must have been sent before the change. When did this emergency session begin? 3 days ago, the worker said, then looked around nervously. I should not discuss council matters. Of course not. About those refreshments. The Phloxian pointed down a corridor. 2 junctions, then left. Samantha thanked him and walked away, mind racing. An emergency closed session that began 3 days ago, exactly when their invitation arrived. Meanwhile, Eric had grown tired of waiting. He stepped into the corridor, nodded to the bored-looking security drone, and walked to the observation deck he had spotted during their escort to the waiting room. The deck offered a panoramic view of the docking arms. Eric counted vessels, identifying their origins from distinctive designs. 6 Vrekler war cruisers, 4 Meridian diplomatic ships, 3 Aethulian research vessels, and most concerning, a Durathi dreadnought, a class of ship normally forbidden at Council Station due to its offensive capabilities. A voice behind him spoke. Magnificent, aren't they? Eric turned to find a tall, willowy being with translucent skin. A Thenori diplomat he'd met once at a trade conference. Quite an unusual gathering of military vessels for a routine council meeting, Eric remarked. The Thenori's skin flushed slightly blue. Embarrassment. Yes, well, these are uncertain times. Uncertain how? Eric pressed. Some species advance too quickly for galactic stability, the Thenori said, then seemed to realize his mistake. I should go. Eric watched him hurry away. When Samantha returned, her expression confirmed his suspicions. Emergency closed session, she whispered. Started 3 days ago. Eric nodded grimly. And we were never supposed to actually arrive. Our invitation was sent assuming we'd receive it after the session concluded. Why invite us at all then? Samantha asked. Plausible deniability. They could claim they tried to include us, a diplomatic courtesy with no real intention behind it. Eric moved away from the observation window. The question is, what are they discussing that they don't want humans to hear? Samantha's expression was serious. And why are there so many warships docked at a diplomatic station? They walked back toward their waiting room, both deep in thought. As they turned a corner, they nearly collided with a tall Xeraxian official hurrying in the opposite direction. Apologies, the official clicked, mandibles twitching nervously. The council session runs long. You will be escorted back to your vessel for comfort. Return tomorrow. Eric smiled politely. We're happy to wait. Impossible, the Xeraxian insisted. Station quarters are unavailable. As they were firmly guided back toward their ship, Eric and Samantha exchanged a look. Whatever was happening in the council chamber, the humans were definitely not welcome to see it. Back aboard their ship, Eric paced the small conference room, while Samantha accessed the station schematics on her data tablet. They're hiding something big, Eric said. Something worth breaking protocol for. Samantha nodded without looking up. And whatever it is, it involves military preparation. Those weren't standard escort vessels we saw docked. Can we access the council chamber from here? Any monitoring systems we could tap into? Samantha shook her head. Council chambers are completely isolated from external networks. But she paused, eyes fixed on her screen. There might be another way. She turned the tablet to show Eric. During the station's last upgrade cycle, they added new environmental control systems. The maintenance tunnels connect to every major section, including the council chambers. Eric's eyes widened. How do you know this? I memorized the station upgrade reports last year. Standard diplomatic preparation. She zoomed in on one section of the schematic. The old access point should be near our docking bay, hidden behind a utility panel. Eric stared at her for a long moment. You know this could be considered an act of espionage. Only if we're caught, Samantha said. Besides, we were invited to observe the council. They never specified how we should observe. 20 minutes later, they slipped through a narrow access door disguised as a wall panel. The maintenance tunnel was dimly lit and clearly designed for the smaller service species. Eric had to crouch uncomfortably as they moved forward. Are you sure this leads to the council chamber? He whispered. Samantha consulted her mental map. 3 junctions forward, then up 1 level, then 2 more junctions east. There should be a ventilation access point that overlooks the secondary council chamber. Secondary chamber, not the main hall. The main hall is used for public sessions. Secret meetings happen in the smaller chamber. She paused at a junction, then pointed left. This way. They moved as quietly as possible through the cramped passages. At one point, they froze as a maintenance drone hummed past on the other side of a thin wall panel. After several tense minutes navigating the maze of tunnels, Samantha held up her hand. We're here. She pointed to a small grate in the floor. Through it, they could see a large oval room below. Unlike the grand main council chamber with its hundreds of seats, this room held only about 50 beings, seated around a crescent-shaped table. The most powerful species in the galaxy were represented, with the Meridian Arbiter Gentall presiding. Eric and Samantha carefully positioned themselves to listen. Cannot continue to ignore the problem, a tall Vrichlorian was saying, his scaled face flushed orange with emotion. In 12 short years, they have expanded to 7 star systems. Their technological growth rate exceeds all predicted models. The Vrichlorian concern is noted, Arbiter Gentall said, his melodious voice carrying easily. But is containment truly necessary? Humans have followed all established protocols for expansion. A sleek, silver-skinned Aethulian rose next. With respect, Arbiter, protocols designed for normal species development. Human adaptability presents an unprecedented variable. Our models show them achieving Class 9 technological status within 70 years. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Eric and Samantha exchanged alarmed glances. Class 9 technology included reality manipulation and dimensional engineering, abilities currently possessed by only the eldest council races. They must be contained, the Aethulian continued, or they will dominate the galaxy within a century. Containment may no longer be sufficient, rumbled a massive Durathi representative. The mining colony incident demonstrates their resourcefulness. Despite our efforts to restrict their access to thulium deposits, they developed an alternative process. Eric's fists clenched. The mining incident had been blamed on natural radiation storms. 27 human colonists had died. "What are you proposing?" asked Arbiter Gental. The Dorethi's deep voice was emotionless. "The human problem requires a permanent solution before they advance further." Samantha gasped, then quickly covered her mouth. But the sound had already traveled through the ventilation grate. Below them, several council members looked up. "Security scan, all sections," ordered the Arbiter. A mechanical voice responded throughout the chamber. "Unauthorized life forms detected in Maintenance Sector 7 Gamma. Species identification, human." The chamber erupted in chaos as Eric and Samantha scrambled backward from the grate. "We need to move," Eric hissed. Now, Eric and Samantha crawled frantically through the maintenance tunnel, hearing the whir of security drones activating behind them. "Left here," Samantha whispered urgently. "There's a junction that connects to the lower service level." They turned at the junction, only to find their path blocked by a security field that hadn't been there before. "They're sealing the tunnels," Eric said. "Can we go back?" The sound of approaching drones answered his question. They were trapped. Samantha tapped frantically at her wrist device. "I'm recording everything we heard. If we can transmit it back to our ship's secure system." The device beeped confirmation as the data package sent. At least they'd have evidence, even if they couldn't escape. "What now?" Eric asked, his voice calm despite their situation. Samantha looked at him, her expression suddenly resolute. "We need to change our approach." "Meaning?" "They're already looking for us in these tunnels. They know we heard them." She took a deep breath. "I say we walk right into their meeting." Eric stared at her. "That's either brilliant or suicidal." "Probably both," she admitted. "But they're already discussing eliminating humanity. What do we have to lose?" Eric thought for a moment, then nodded. "How do we get to the chamber entrance from here?" Using Samantha's perfect recall of the station layout, they backtracked through the tunnels until they reached a maintenance exit near the council chamber's main doors. Surprisingly, no guards were posted outside. The council was so confident in their secrecy that they hadn't expected external intrusion. "Ready?" Eric straightened his uniform and brushed off the dust from the tunnels. Samantha nodded, her face pale but determined. Inside the chamber, the emergency meeting had descended into heated debate. The Athulian delegate was presenting detailed plans on a large holographic display. The targeted pathogen would reduce human population by approximately 70% within one standard year, the silver-skinned alien explained. It would present as a natural pandemic, maintaining plausible deniability for the Council. "And the remaining humans?" asked a reptilian Saurian representative. "Would be manageable," replied the Athulian. "We could restrict them to their home system, perhaps allow limited tourism under strict supervision." The Dorathi delegate rumbled disapproval. "Their homeworld should be quarantined completely. Better yet, sterilized." "That goes too far," objected a small bird-like aviani. "Humans have committed no acts of aggression. Their only crime is advancing too quickly. Their existence threatens the established order," countered the Vrichlorian ambassador. "For millennia, we have maintained galactic peace through controlled advancement. Species develop according to the natural timetable or face extinction. It is the way." The Meridian Arbiter raised his four hands for quiet. "The security alert indicates humans in the maintenance tunnels. They may have heard our deliberations. This complicates matters." "All the more reason to act quickly," urged the Athulian. "If they learn of our plans." The massive doors to the council chamber swung open. Every delegate turned in shock as Ambassador Eric Daniels and Samantha Wright walked calmly into the room. "Please, don't let us interrupt," Eric said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent chamber. Chaos erupted immediately. Several delegates shouted for guards. Others leaped from their seats, either in anger or fear. A few simply stared in disbelief. "This is an outrage," bellowed the Vrichlorian ambassador. "Arrest them immediately." Station security drones swarmed into the room, weapons trained on the two humans. Eric remained perfectly still, his eyes locked on the Arbiter. Ambassador Daniels, Arbiter Gental spoke with forced calm. This is a closed emergency session. Your presence is unauthorized and unwelcome. Interesting, Eric replied coolly. I have here an official invitation to attend today's council proceedings. He held up his data tablet. Perhaps you can explain why we were invited to a meeting where the extermination of our species is being discussed. The chamber fell silent again. The Arbiter's face shifted through several colors, a sign of extreme distress in Meridians. Guards, remove the humans, ordered the Durathi representative. Eric didn't move as the security drones advanced. Before you take any action, he said clearly, you should know that everything we heard in your secret meeting has already been transmitted to our ship, and from there, to Earth. The council chamber froze at Eric's words. The security drones hovered in place, waiting for confirmed orders. You're bluffing, the Vrichlorian ambassador hissed, orange scales flaring. No transmission could penetrate our security protocols. Samantha smiled thinly. You underestimate human ingenuity. Again. She held up her wrist device. This contains a quantum entanglement transmitter. Data packets were sent the moment we confirmed your plans. The signal doesn't need to penetrate anything because it doesn't travel through normal space. The Athulian representative's silver skin paled to almost white. Quantum entanglement communications. That's Class 8 technology. Humans should be at least 50 years from developing that capability. As I said, Samantha replied, you underestimate us. The Durathi delegate slammed a massive fist on the table. Kill them now. We can still contain this. Touch either of us, Eric said calmly, and the full recording releases to every member world in the council. Not just the governments, the general public. How do you think your citizens will react when they learn their leaders planned genocide? The chamber erupted again in multiple alien languages. The Arbiter's voice cut through the noise. Silence. This situation requires careful consideration. Eric stepped forward. I would like to invoke Council Protocols 793. Murmurs spread throughout the room. The Arbiter's eyes widened. That protocol has not been invoked in over 4 centuries, he said. But it remains valid under Council law, Eric replied. As the representative of a species facing imminent threat from Council actions, I claim the right to address the full assembly. The Vrichlorian ambassador rose. This is absurd. They are not even full Council members. Yet we were invited to this meeting, Eric countered, which means either we have standing to invoke the protocol, or this entire session is illegitimate under Council law. The Arbiter conferred quietly with several delegates. The room buzzed with tense conversation. Finally, he raised his 4 hands for silence. Ambassador Daniels, the Council recognizes your right to speak under Protocol 793. You have the floor. Eric stepped to the center of the chamber. Security drones still hovered nearby, but their weapons were now lowered. Members of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady. For 12 years, humanity has worked to integrate peacefully into the galactic community. We have followed your expansion protocols. We have respected your cultural guidelines. We have shared our art, music, and ideas freely. He looked around the room, meeting alien eyes one by one. And in return, you have sabotaged our colonies, attacked our ships, and now plan our extinction. All because we learn too quickly, because we adapt too well. He pointed to the holographic display still showing the Athulians' pandemic plan. This is not the action of a peaceful, advanced civilization. This is fear. This is the desperate attempt of entrenched powers to maintain control at any cost. The Aviani representative chirped softly. Humans advance too rapidly. You destabilize the natural order. Natural order. Samantha spoke up. Or your preferred order. You've controlled species development for millennia, deciding who gets what technology when. That's not natural, it's artificial suppression. The Durathi growled. Without control, there is chaos. Wars between species at different technological levels are devastating. "We don't want war," Eric said firmly. "We want equal partnership based on mutual respect, not controlled development." The Athulian leaned forward. "Your species went from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years. No other species has advanced at even half that rate. You cannot expect us to simply accept such an anomaly." "So your solution is to kill us?" Eric asked. "To commit genocide because we don't fit your models." The chamber fell silent. Several delegates looked away, unable to meet his eyes. "What would you have us do?" asked the Arbiter finally. "Simply allow your uncontrolled advancement." Eric's expression hardened. "I would have you treat us as equals, not as a problem to be managed. I would have you honor your own principles of peace and cooperation." He turned to face the entire assembly. "But most importantly, I would have you understand one simple truth. Humanity will not be eliminated quietly. We will not accept extermination. If you force this confrontation, you will discover exactly how quickly humans can advance when our survival depends on it." The council chamber remained silent for several moments after Eric's words. His warning hung in the air, making even the most powerful delegates shift uncomfortably. The Arbiter spoke first. "Your statement borders on threatening the council, Ambassador Daniels." "Not a threat," Eric replied. "A reality you should consider before making your decision." A small fuzzy being with 6 eyes rose from a seat near the back. Eric recognized the Talmari representative from one of the younger council species. "Perhaps we should hear more from the humans," the Talmari suggested. "Their perspective may be valuable." "Agreed," chirped the Aviani delegate. "Before we vote on such extreme measures, we should understand what they propose instead." The Durathi representative growled in disagreement, but the Arbiter nodded. "Ambassador Daniels, what alternative would you suggest to address the Council's concerns about human advancement?" Eric exchanged a quick glance with Samantha. They hadn't expected to be given this opening. "The core issue seems to be fear of rapid technological advancement," Eric began carefully. "You believe humans will destabilize the galaxy if we continue to develop at our current pace." The Arbiter nodded. "That is correct." "Then I propose a compromise," Eric said. "Humanity will agree to share our innovations with the Council. Instead of seeing our advancement as a threat, see it as an opportunity for all species." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Athulian delegate's silver skin rippled with emotion. "You would simply give away your technological advantages." The Athulian sounded skeptical. "That contradicts all our behavioral models of your species." Samantha stepped forward. "Your models are flawed because they're based on the assumption that all species behave as yours do. Humans are cooperative by nature. We advance fastest when we work together." "Pretty words," the Vrichlorian ambassador hissed. "But your own history is filled with wars and conflicts." "Yes," Eric admitted. "We have made mistakes, but we learn from them. That's our greatest strength, not our technology, but our ability to adapt and grow beyond our failures." The chamber fell quiet again as the delegates considered this. "There is another matter," the Arbiter said after a moment. "The information you claim to have transmitted. What do you intend to do with it?" Eric met his gaze steadily. "That depends on the outcome of this meeting. If the Council abandons these plans against humanity and agrees to work with us honestly, the recordings remain private. If not, the threat didn't need to be stated explicitly. Public release of the Council's genocidal plans would cause chaos throughout the galaxy." Just then, a communications officer hurried into the chamber and whispered urgently to the Arbiter. The Meridian skin flashed through several colors before settling on a deep blue. "It seems," the Arbiter announced to the Assembly, "that 3 Earth warships have just arrived at the edge of this system." All eyes turned back to Eric, who looked genuinely surprised. "A standard diplomatic escort," he explained. "They were scheduled to meet us here for our return journey. Their timing is coincidental." Few in the chamber seemed to believe this, but the arrival of human warships changed the dynamic completely. The Vrichlorian ambassador leaned toward the Durathi representative. They were prepared for discovery. This suggests they knew about our meeting before arriving. Impossible, the Durethi rumbled. Unless, he glared at the Athulian delegate, unless someone warned them. The chamber erupted in accusations as various factions began to suspect each other of betrayal. The arbiter struggled to restore order. Enough, he finally shouted, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. This accomplishes nothing. He turned to Eric and Samantha. It seems we have reached an impasse. Not necessarily, Eric replied. We came here to participate in galactic governance, not to cause division. The question is whether the Council truly wants peaceful cooperation, or whether you're committed to maintaining a hierarchy with humans firmly at the bottom. The Athulian delegate stood. Ambassador Daniels makes a valid point. Perhaps our approach has been flawed. Flawed. The Durethi bellowed. It is suicide to give humans free rein. And it is genocide to eliminate them for the crime of intelligence, countered the Aviani representative. We must find another way. As debate spread through the chamber, Eric and Samantha exchanged a significant look. For the first time since entering the room, hope seemed possible. The debate continued for nearly an hour. Different factions formed quickly among the council members. The militant bloc, led by the Vrichlorians and Durethi, still pushed for containment or elimination of humanity. A moderate group, including the Aviani and Talmeri, argued for cooperation. The Athulians remained analytical, seemingly calculating odds rather than taking a firm position. Eric and Samantha stood quietly, watching the political maneuvering. Occasionally, Eric would respond to direct questions, but mostly he let the council members argue among themselves. They're dividing, Samantha whispered. This could work in our favor. The arbiter finally called for order. We must reach a decision. The presence of human warships complicates matters, as does the potential leak of our deliberations. We should vote, suggested the Vrichlorian ambassador. The traditional way. The arbiter nodded and activated a voting system. The question before us: should the Galactic Council implement containment measures against humanity as proposed by the Emergency Committee? Eric stepped forward. Before you vote, I request permission to make one final statement. Granted, the arbiter said. Eric looked around the chamber, meeting as many alien eyes as he could. Many of you see humans as dangerous because we advance rapidly. But consider this. Instead of fearing our progress, why not benefit from it? He gestured to Samantha, who projected a hologram from her wrist device. It showed various human innovations that had already been shared with allied species. In just 12 years, our medical technology has helped cure 17 previously untreatable diseases affecting Council species. Our agricultural methods have increased food production on 12 worlds suffering from climate shifts. Our art and literature have been welcomed throughout the galaxy. The hologram shifted to show statistical projections. These are conservative estimates of what continued human innovation could provide to the galaxy over the next century. Not domination. Contribution. Several delegates leaned forward, studying the data with interest. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Eric continued. We want to help build a better one, alongside you. But we can only do that as equal partners, not as a controlled species. The Athulian representative's silver skin rippled with complex emotions. Your proposal is logical, but how can we trust that human advancement won't eventually lead to human domination? The same way all sentient species build trust, Eric replied. Through actions, not just words. Judge us by what we do, not by what you fear we might do. The arbiter considered this a reasonable approach. However, the Council would require significant oversight of human technological development. Reasonable oversight is acceptable, Eric said. Complete control is not. We propose a joint innovation committee with representatives from Earth and the Council, sharing discoveries for mutual benefit. The chamber buzzed with conversation as delegates discussed this option. It is time to vote, the arbiter announced finally, on the original proposal for containment measures against humanity. The voting took only moments, When the results appeared on the large display, even Eric looked surprised. The containment proposal had been rejected by a narrow margin. It seems, the arbiter said, that the Council is willing to consider your alternative approach, Ambassador Daniels. A committee will be formed to draft an agreement between Earth and the Galactic Council regarding technological cooperation and oversight. The Durathi delegate rose in anger. This is a mistake we will all regret. Humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Perhaps not, the arbiter replied. But genocide cannot be our first solution when faced with a species different from our expectations. Just then, a communications officer entered and approached Eric. After a brief conversation, Eric turned to address the council again. The captain of our escort ships requests permission to approach the station. As a show of good faith, I suggest we allow them to dock. The arbiter hesitated, then nodded. Granted. This meeting will recess while we prepare formal discussions on the new proposal. As the delegates filed out, Samantha moved closer to Eric. Did we just prevent a war? Eric watched the alien representatives with a careful eye. For now. But this isn't over. They're scared of us, and fear makes any species dangerous. What happens next? She asked. We negotiate. We build trust. And we prepare for the possibility that some members of the Council will never accept humans as equals. The Athulian representative approached them as the chamber emptied. An impressive performance, Ambassador. But I wonder, did you really transmit our plans to Earth, or was that a bluff? Eric smiled slightly. Would you like to find out? The Athulian's silver skin shimmered with what might have been respect. Perhaps not. Either way, humans continue to surprise us. That is both fascinating and terrifying. 3 days later, Eric and Samantha stood at the observation deck of their ship as it prepared to leave Council Station. The diplomatic escort vessels flanked them on either side, their powerful engines glowing softly against the darkness of space. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? Samantha asked, watching as the massive station grew smaller behind them. Eric's expression was thoughtful. Some will. Others are already planning ways around it. The past 72 hours had been intense. After the initial vote, negotiations had moved quickly. The Council had agreed to end all covert operations against human colonies. In exchange, humanity would share certain technological innovations through a joint oversight committee. Not a perfect solution, Eric said, but better than war or genocide. Samantha nodded, then pulled out her tablet. I've been analyzing the faction breakdown. There are still 7 species firmly against us, 5 strongly supportive, and the rest somewhere in between. And the Athulians. Hard to read. They seem to have accepted the outcome, but they're always calculating. I wouldn't trust them. Eric smiled slightly. I don't trust any of them. Not anymore. Their ship's captain approached with a secure communication device. Ambassador, Earth Defense Command is requesting a full report. Eric took the device. I'll speak with them in my quarters. When Eric was gone, Samantha continued to stare out at the stars. Their mission had succeeded beyond expectations, but she felt no triumph. Only a growing certainty that this was just the beginning of a more complicated relationship with the galaxy. Later, Eric found her still at the observation deck. Earth is pleased with the outcome, he said. The President sends her congratulations. Did you tell them everything? Samantha asked. Yes, including our suspicions that some council members will continue working against us secretly. Samantha turned to face him. What happens now? Now we prepare. Eric's voice was calm but determined. For years, humans thought we were alone in the universe. Then we believed we were welcomed as equals. Now we know better. Will we share our technology as promised? Yes. We keep our agreements. But, Eric paused. Earth Defense has already created a special division. Top scientists and military strategists working together on technologies we won't share, just in case. Samantha wasn't surprised. Do you think it will come to war? I hope not, but we need to be ready for anything. Their ship jumped to faster than light speed, the stars blurring around them as they headed home to Earth. Both humans were quiet, contemplating the changed galaxy they now lived in. "There's something I've been wondering," Samantha said finally. Those escort ships arrived with perfect timing, almost too perfect. Eric smiled enigmatically. "Remember when I said we'd been aware of some sabotage attempts? Earth intelligence has had concerns about the Council for years. When we received that suspicious invitation, certain precautions were put in place. So you knew it was a trap all along." "Not knew. Suspected. Earth hasn't survived this long by being naive." Samantha laughed softly. "The Council thinks they've been studying us, but we've been studying them too." "Exactly." Eric's expression grew serious again. "The Athulian asked if our transmission to Earth was a bluff. It wasn't, but I didn't tell him that we had much more than audio recordings." "What do you mean?" Eric tapped his temple. "Your memory isn't the only enhanced thing on our team. My optical implants recorded everything. Every delegate, every plan, every admission of past crimes against human colonies." Samantha's eyes widened. "They have no idea what we really know. And that's our advantage. For every contingency they're planning against humans, we've already prepared 3 countermeasures." The ship's communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. "Ambassador, we're receiving reports from our colonies in the Ta City system. 3 Friclorian warships have been detected near the outer planets." Eric and Samantha exchanged a knowing look. It seemed the real test of the new agreement was already beginning. "Tell Earth Defense Command to deploy the new stealth monitors," Eric ordered calmly. "And inform the Council we expect them to honor our agreement immediately." As the officer hurried away, Eric turned back to the viewport. "And so it begins," he said quietly. "The real dance of diplomacy." "At least now we know the steps," Samantha replied. "And the stakes." The stars streaked past as humanity headed home, eyes now wide open to the true nature of the galaxy they had joined.